Well, Stephen,
Yeah.
the whole world was waiting for the NFL schedule release to come out tomorrow. And alas, it's been delayed until next week,
Oh, man.
the 15th.
It's a real shame.
How are you coping with this?
I'm trying. I got a bowl of I needed comfort food, so I got a bowl of pasta.
Nice.
Yeah.
Because whenever you need comfort, you go to, what are we working with today?
It's little chicken pot pie pasta. So it's not technically pot pie. There's no
The
crust.
favorite pasta of Chris Townsend.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I got it. I got my inspiration from the great Townie's Chicken Pie Shop.
There you go, in Walnut Creek. It's still there?
I think so.
Okay. Good for
been. We haven't been.
It's been a long time.
Probably should.
It's been a long time since I've been to that chicken pot pie shop or shop establishment, whatever you want to call it, with a stripper pole or stripper stage right in the end of the bar.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was a strip club at one point.
It was a strip club, and then it turned into a family chicken pot pie shop.
Yep, where Raider fans would congregate and get pissed off about anything that would happen.
Exactly.
And, God, who were the random? There would just be random people strolling into that place. Like I remember out of nowhere, when we were, it might have even been for the A's-Yankees game. I remember when the A's and Yankees were, I think it was like a game where they were like vying for the playoffs or something. And the A's crushed the Yankees at the time, but there were just like random people strolling in and out. Dan Ashley from ABC7, like he just shows up and he starts talking to Townie. I'm like, what the hell is happening?
Yeah, I mean, probably a good broadcaster, but I never trust a man with two first names.
It's fair enough.
Yes. And don't try to get away from the main story here, Stephen. What are we going to do for a week?
What do you mean, what are we going to do for a week?
I'm going crazy here. I need to know when these teams are playing.
Why?
Because every day, you see me every day at work, I see John Curley, I'm like, my man, I don't think we're getting the schedule in time. And then the reality hit yesterday. And I hate the way it's phrased, too. The NFL schedule release is expected to be released next Wednesday. What if it's not?
Then we're still going to do a podcast next Wednesday.
Don't know how I could go on, Stephen.
It could wait. It could wait. I know the people of Brazil were really looking forward to it.
Well, they already know what's going down. Everything else is a big old mystery.
Don't they need an exact date though?
No, I already told you.
They know the teams, but there is an exact date.
September 6th, the same day as Beetlejuice.
Jesus Christ, you remember the actual date?
Do you know what?
September 6th. Do you remember it like a family member's birthday?
Don't try to make it seem like you don't care about this shit. We do this every year. Where you're like, oh, I don't care about the schedule release. I don't care about the draft. And then we do it, and then you're like, yeah, I'm kind of interested a little bit.
Well, this one caught my attention. And, it's funny that you mentioned that. I actually, I've been making it a daily habit to go to my Facebook and delete any memories that pop up. Like I haven't posted like a status since like, 2015, and Facebook does this thing where it's like, have you seen this status you posted in 2012 on this day? And on this day in 2014, I tweeted out, I'm trying to get my American cinema teacher to put a split screen of the movie and the NFL draft on one side. And I'm like, I got 5 hours and 57 minutes until I can think of something good. That's a lot better than what I was tweeting what I was putting as my Facebook status in 2011 and 2012 and 2013, because when Facebook asks you like, what's going on? How's it going? I answered that very literally.
Yeah. So you're very liberal with your Facebook post back in the day.
Yes.
Well, that explains the volume of tweets you had today. Good Lord, sir.
Yeah. I was going off.
Yeah. Every little thing, like Stephen A. Smith gets something wrong with something he saw on Twitter. Did I really need to know your opinion about that, Stephen?
The fact that I got a good laugh out of it this morning, and you aren't happy for someone who is experiencing joy on a Wednesday morning for your friend, bad friend by you.
Bad friend by me, but bad friend by you. Than not caring about my sadness. There is no NFL schedule.
Yeah, well, I think it's ridiculous.
Okay, well, I'll find a way.
Dude, the Stephen A. Smith thing was hilarious, though. Come on, that was all time theater by him.
So what exactly happened? So he got ball sacked or whatever.
Yeah, he got sacked.
So
Stephen A. sack.
He thought that, and it's just your opinion, man. Stephen Langford, Derek Papa. We will try to get through today without no schedule release, but it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
Stephen A. Smith. So he got sacked because he thought that Shea Gilgeous-Alexander was traded for more than what it actually was.
Yeah, they like listed off they put the graphic of the trade, and it had Shea Gilgeous-Alexander going to the Oklahoma City Thunder, and in exchange the Clippers get the Clippers trade, or the Thunder trade Paul George, and then there's like, I think like 10 different draft picks that were included, and it's going all the way down to like 2028.
Yeah.
So Stephen A. brought that up on First Take, and then immediately to backtrack, he's like, just first off, wanted to get this out of the way. I know it was fake. I talked with the producers about it. The producers let me know. I just forgot. So that's that. And that's all I'm gonna say about that. And then he moves on to his next take. So no one could say anything about it. Chris Mad Dog Russo just silent, not calling him out. On this podcast, I feel like we would call each other out if that sort of thing happened, where it's just like, oh yeah, I knew it was a fake tweet, but I forgot. Yeah, they didn't do any of that on First Take. They just moved on. It's just a masterclass by Stephen A. Smith of deflection.
Well, the bigger thing they gave him shit for was, I guess, he thought that Chris Mad Dog Russo was sitting in his chair, and that turned into a whole screaming match, which you also had to reply about today.
Well, I respond. You saw the reply to that?
Yeah, dude, that's what I'm talking about. It wasn't just the tweets. Every little goddamn thing you tweet. Every little goddamn thing you tweet.
You should mute me. You really should. I have no problem with
I'm on the verge.
Feel free, because anyone who pops up on my timeline too quick, they are getting the mute button real fast.
There you go. See, that's why I'm limited with my tweets. I only tweet about my frustration with the NFL schedule release not coming out.
It's fair enough. I understand that. Like I personally take to Twitter, and I don't want to. There's some people where they're just popping up with every little thing, and they tweet a lot, and then you see their numbers are in like the six figures with how much they tweet, and you just see them consistently popping up on the timeline. And I'm sorry to these people, but I don't need to know every single thought that comes to your stream of consciousness that you decide to type out on the phone keyboard. And you got a little bit of that from me, so I have no problem if you end up muting me. No problem.
Yep. Well, I'm considering it. But yeah, so just real quick, NFL schedule release, just to give you the latest. Don't roll your eyes.
I'm gonna eat the pasta. You can give me the latest here.
Yeah, go ahead. You eat your whatever pasta you were eating, Steven, and I'll give you the latest here. So apparently the reason why the schedule has been delayed is, you'll find this hilarious, Steven, it's because of these Christmas Day games. Apparently the teams are not thrilled about going from Saturday to Wednesday. So they're trying to find teams that are willing to do that. So yeah, we will see. There are rumors aplenty. Sounds like possibly the 49ers may be going to London. We will see about that. And
they've got a huge following in Leeds.
Yeah, no, I know about that. Don't they have like a doesn't Niners ownership own a little stake in a soccer team?
Oh no, they took full ownership earlier this year. Yeah, 49ers Enterprises now owns Leeds United, and I don't know if they're in the tier below the English Premier League. They were in it, and they were out of it because they were relegated. I don't know if they're back at the top of the championship. I think they are. It's also weird that they call their lower level the championship. It's like, it's not the championship, but anyway.
Yeah, so I guess NFL London tweeted out a thing of Debo saying, like, we got some breaking news coming soon, and everybody thinks that means that the Niners will be going to London. I think the only team they could play in London would be the Vikings, who are going to London. So we'll see about that. And that's it right now. And I'm sure there'll be leaks before the actual schedule releases next week. But we'll do a big old show next week. I just hate waiting for it, because that's like the last thing we wait in the offseason for NFL season to start.
Random side note, do you think anyone has asked Dennis Allen if he's been to London since 2014?
Well, he wasn't left in London. Everyone thinks that he was like left on the tarmac, like Herm Edwards, but that did not happen. He flew back with the team and then was fired.
Right. But
But he
he
had a
probably
bad trip to London.
that's not a good trip. That's not a
No.
good trip. Then you got to do.
Terrible
I mean,
trip.
can you imagine that? You got the jet lag. When you're flying back from London to the States, you're essentially traveling back in time in a way because you travel for 8 hours, yet only like 3 hours passes because of the time change. I can't imagine what that was like. It's just he needed to catch up on sleep. He just got used to a London time, and he gets back home and finds out he was fired. Wonder if he's been back.
Yeah, probably not. Probably bad memories for old DA. I don't have the Saints. No, you know what? The Saints were there last year. They played the Vikings. He's been back.
Oh, wow. All right. Never mind. Squash that.
Well, there you go. See, Steven, it's good to remember the schedule. I remember pointless shit. Speaking of Raiders, real quick, I saw this. You saw this. I texted you about it. Terry and Arnold did an interview today. I don't know with what podcast or whatever, but he's the new rookie cornerback for the Detroit Lions, and he was asked about the whole process of being selected by the Lions. Did he know ahead of time that he was going to go to that team? And he said it sounded like the Raiders were going to draft me. They called me afterwards when I got selected by the Lions and told me that it was a coin flip between me and Brock Bowers. And everyone's saying, a coin flip? A coin flip? These guys, Tom Telesco, the Raiders organization, are deciding their draft picks by a goddamn coin flip? I don't think it was literally a coin flip. I think everyone needs to calm down about that one. Because I don't like, I mean, we had a draft pick between the Niners and Raiders dictated by a coin flip. But I don't think they're like literally flipping a coin and being like, all right, Brock Bowers heads, Terry Arnold tails, and boom. That's what happened. No, I think it was just they leaned in the direction of Bowers.
Yeah, they were trying to let him down easy, but if it was in fact an actual coin flip, if they just flipped a quarter, and let's just say this year Terry and Arnold works out. Where is he? Detroit, right?
Yep, Detroit.
Let's say he works out with Detroit, and let's just say Brock Bowers with the Raiders doesn't. Well, this would be the worst coin flip since Cuba Gooding Jr. as an NFL official in Rat Race.
Well done,
Yeah.
Steven. Forget about that.
Yeah, if so, I mean, bring Tom Telesco out to the desert and just leave him out there, and maybe he could find a bus full of I Love Lucy fans to take him home.
The best part of that movie is not the best part. It's been a while, but one of my favorite parts is him on the bus, and he's convincing the bus driver to give him all of his clothes so he can impersonate as him on the bus. And he's like, "There's a woman having a baby, and she needs give me your shirt." And he's like, "Oh, okay, and I need your hat and your pants for what? For the vagina." It's just such a weird fucking movie, but I do love it.
I highly recommend anyone who hasn't seen it in a while watch it, because I watched it not too long ago. It was a few months ago. It still holds up. My favorite is the brothers with Seth Green and the guy who has the tongue ring, who apparently is a stuntman, which I didn't know until later on. And it makes sense because he's involved in a lot of stunts in that movie, but he just can't talk because of that infected little tongue ring that he has.
And you know that movie led to Robot Chicken, because the creators of Robot Chicken, I believe, are Seth Green and Breckin Meyer.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that led to Robot. I didn't know that led to Robot Chicken.
There's also a good scene with the half of the Canadian brothers. I forget what they're called. I think the McKenzie brothers. It was Rick Moranis and the other guy. And the other guy in the movie is the butler or assistant to God, what's his name from Monty Python? The famous member of Monty Python. They're all famous.
Eric Idle or John?
Not
Cleese?
Eric Idle. John Cleese. John Cleese is the weird billionaire that has the whole thing, and then it's the guy that can't blink, and he's trying to convince the stripper or the prostitute to have a jacuzzi full of Pepto-Bismol, and she's like, "Well, that's quite a party," and he's like, "How much would that cost?" I think $1 million. $1 million. Who had $1 million?
Yeah. When they're in the plane and the pilots just start having it go up and down and wobbling from side to side, and then this one random dude throws up in the back, and then John Cleese is like, "Who had Mr. Kamichi?"
Why is it that all our podcasts just us talking about obscure movies from back in the day that no one remembers? If anyone remembers me and Steven doing a Raiders podcast, we talked about Shooter for most of the time.
It was just one episode where we talked about
Yeah,
Shooter.
it was a lot. It was a lot.
Yeah. Bonte had that one episode with us and he was like perplexed. What the hell is this?
Speaking of Bonte, saw Bonte at the Bay Area Sports Hall of Fame ceremony. It was a good old time. Went there on Monday. Do you know that Bonte's a member of the advisory board?
I did not know that.
They just let everybody on that board now, huh? You and I are on the board. I'm kidding. But no, it was a good time. Went with the KMBR crew. Brian Murphy was emceeing the event. And he was making sure that thing went fast. But it slowed down a little bit when they honored Brian Sabian because Chris Berman was the guy introducing him, and you know that Chris Berman's going to take his sweet time because he was doing the well, you know, me and Brian go way back, and I mean we go way back, we all the way when we were in Canada doing does. That's my Chris Berman.
Needs a little work, but it's getting there.
Okay. The part that made everybody squirm, though, is when he was talking glowingly about Sabian, and then Farhan was there. Farhan was at the Giants table with Flannery and Wotus, and Jeremy Affeldt was there, and Ryan Vogelsong. But Farhan was there, and in front of Farhan, Berman goes, a lot of people don't think you can win these days just doing it the old school way. You got to look at charts and you got to look at this and that. And it can be done. It can be done. And everybody's buttholes got a little clenched when he said that.
Is Chris Berman from the East Coast?
Yes. But he loves the Bay Area. He loves the Bay Area.
Okay, because you can't be done. Can't be done. He sounded like sounded like a mob boss who's telling his henchmen that he can't kill a guy. Can't be done. Anyway.
Yeah, that's how we did highlights back in the day.
Oh, that's great. No, it's great.
No, it was a good time. It was a good time at the old Bischoff. Yeah. So we got a lot to talk about today, Steven. Despite not having an NFL schedule, I'll get by. We got the NBA playoffs. You're wearing your Sharks jersey. Big old news with the Sharks. We will get to that. A Tom Brady roast, which Chris Mad Dog Russo was not happy about at all. God, he just hated that thing. But I enjoyed it. We'll talk about that a little later. But let's talk about the NBA playoffs, which are going on right now. Tightly contested match between the Indiana Pacers and Knicks. Jalen Brunson was hurt in the second quarter, but he is back. And most of the home teams have won. Knicks are up 1-0. We'll see what happens in this game. Probably will end before we end tonight. The Boston Celtics are up 1-0 on the Cavaliers. The Oklahoma City Thunder, young and scrappy, are 1-0 against the Dallas Mavericks. But then there is the Minnesota Timberwolves up 2-0 on the Denver Nuggets. Nikola Jokic won MVP today, the third time in 4 years. But if you ask him, I'm sure he's like, I don't care. I just want to win and go home and see my pony. Yeah, that's my Jokic too.
Good work.
Okay, thank you. Better than my Berman, I guess. But I asked you last time, Steven, or I just told you, I wouldn't be surprised if the Minnesota Timberwolves win this series. And you disagreed with me. Now they're up 2-0, and they beat down the Denver Nuggets. Despite not having Rudy Gobert, he went to go see the birth of his child. Soft. No, I'm kidding. He should have done that. And they didn't need him.
Easy Gilbert Arenas.
Yeah, exactly. But no, they just beat him down. And I think it's the familiarity of them. I think it's their defense. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Nuggets still win this series, but I have been thoroughly impressed with the Timberwolves. Yeah. Do you think there's a good chance they win the series now, Steven?
Oh, for sure. But like I wasn't disagreeing in that it's not like I didn't think they could win this series. I disagreed in that I would be shocked if they did. Like that's what I said the last time. But what I didn't take into account and what really showed itself in game 2, Nikola Jokic, as great as he is, his lack of wanting to care, his lack of really having that fire, that passion of wanting to win, it was rearing its ugly head in that game. When they got down, there was no fight in the second half. Thought Jokic was going to do something. but he does not. And everyone on that team was deflated. So I didn't take that into account. I didn't take into account the fact that Jokic he's not really that guy who is going to will his team back to win with his attitude, his demeanor. He's really the strong, silent type who's just going to play basketball. And we didn't really see a lot of adversity with them last year. They were playing with as much confidence as any team in the postseason. And then it continued even into this year, but against the Lakers. But yeah, when the Timberwolves got to him, man, it just kind of felt like they gave up. And I got to say this. I am so excited for the future of the NBA. I think it's in really good hands right now, mainly because of Anthony Edwards.
Yeah.
When I'm watching that, I'm not going to sit here and start drawing comparisons that he's the next MJ or he's the next Kobe, but I do see it. I definitely see it in his game because he's a 3-level scorer. He defends with the best of them, hounding Jamal Murray. But
he's also Michael Jordan's illegitimate son.
Or Jimmy Butler, but we'll never know.
Yeah.
The thing about it is it feels like we're seeing the start. And I say this in the best way possible. I'm not saying this in a bad way. I feel like we are seeing the beginning of a supervillain arc with Anthony Edwards. I really do. Like, he is right now, he's respectful of his elders. It's great what he's doing. Respectful of the defending champs. Even after they won that game, he's like, I expect no slippage from them. Like, we're going to throw our best punch in game 3. We expect their best punch. Like, it's an exciting one when we get home. In that Sun series, he was heaping praise on Kevin Durant and Devin Booker for what those guys have done in the league. But once Anthony Edwards has gone from this 22-year-old to like one of the faces of the NBA, I truly think we are going to see like a supervillain in the NBA, which is great. I think the league needs it. You kind of had it with Draymond Green a little bit, but there's a little more oomph when it comes to the offense with his high-flying dunks and his three-pointers. Like, God, there was a shot he made. It wasn't just him going strong to the rack in the fourth quarter and just like continuing to just jab. But there was this shot he hit where it was a turnaround jumper where I forgot who was guarding him, but it felt like it was perfect defense. And there's just nothing you could do about it because good offense beats better defense. And I just think we are seeing the future now where this dude's shrugging. He's doing the Michael Jordan shrug on the way back. He's talking shit. He's backing it up. I think it's so much fun to watch, and I'm super excited for that. And really what I'm envisioning after this postseason is forget the comparisons from the past. What you're going to see, I think, is the era where Anthony Edwards and Victor Wembanyama are meeting up in the West, and it's going to be must-see television once the Spurs actually build a team.
I agree with you, Steven. I think that he's in the conversation for being the best two-way player right now, and he has the most confidence I've seen in a young player. I can remember. Like I said this before, but he, like, to your point of him playing the villain, he is the character from Hustle that he played. He is just that guy talking shit, and he doesn't care if he gets under your skin, and he can back it up. He is confident as hell. The biggest thing that has led to the Timberwolves being up 2-0 in the series is the Nuggets, for the most part this season, have been a very good team, but they explode in the second half. They kind of sleepwalk. When they're home, they use the altitude to their advantage. So they kind of go through the motions. Jokic is not that fiery. And then they beat you in the second half. And the Timberwolves have noticed that. And it was the whole Lakers series. The Lakers were up at halftime, and the Nuggets found a way to beat them. But this series, it's been the Timberwolves come in and just totally come through with a haymaker to start the game off. And then the Nuggets are trying to find a way to get back in the game. Now, they were able to do that in the first quarter. They realize that their intensity does not match that of the Timberwolves. So they got back in that game and still end up losing that in the fourth quarter. On Monday night, they just got punched the whole game. And it was the combination of Karl-Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards that they just could not stop. And they're defending them great. And Jamal Murray struggled. He did not play well. He did not shoot well, and he let his frustrations get to the best of him by throwing a heating pad on the floor. He's not being suspended, which I think that's fair. It's the playoffs. No one wants to see that happen. If he was in a regular season game, you probably would have seen him got suspended. But he threw that and he got $100,000 fine. So that's the punishment. I think it's fair. But in order for the Nuggets to get back in the series, he's going to have to play a lot better.
For sure. But it just feels like they're so deflated, and if Anthony Edwards keeps this up and they're going to be at home, the Timberwolves, they haven't been back. They haven't been in the playoffs since the Kevin Garnett years. That was in like 2003, 2004. And they made it to the finals that year when they ended up losing. And that was the only time they've even made it this far in the playoffs.
Western Conference Finals, they lost to the Lakers.
Oh, that's a good point. So, this Timberwolves fan base is hungry for something.
Hungry like the Wolves.
Exactly. By the way, Minnesota Timberwolves, way too many syllables in their name. That's why I shortened it in the show promotion tweet.
Could just say T-Wolves.
Yeah, that's a good point. But the mini Timbies, come on, man. So, yeah, I agree, but it almost feels like it's too little too late. I don't know. God, these Timberwolves are so good to watch, are so fun, and they didn't even have Gobert. Didn't even have Gobert in game 2, and they still blew out the Nuggets. And Gobert just won his 4th depoy.
Yep. I'm not going to say it's over yet because the Nuggets still have championship, pedigree, and they were down 3-1 twice in the bubble, if you remember. So I'm not too concerned about them coming back in the series. They just need a good kick in the ass, honestly. Like Michael Malone, he was upset with that call that the Nuggets did not get, but I think that was more just to fire his team up because he kind of knew that they were playing lackadaisical.
Right.
So, and yeah, Jokic is not the most fiery guy, but I think they're going to come out with an intensity on Friday night. I wouldn't be surprised if the Nuggets go in there and beat them. But if they don't, that's probably the end of the series. If the T-Wolves are up 3-0. But dude, if they win this series, I think they're winning the West. And not going to say they're going to beat the Celtics if they meet in the finals, but it would be a pretty even matchup in my opinion.
Well, they do got to go through what I expect to be the winner of this series. They do got to go through the Oklahoma City Thunder. Although the Thunder could, for all we know, Luka Doncic could just go nuclear and the series is tied at 1, and then we look at it completely different. But they still got to go through the West first. But I would say that Minnesota are the favorites currently, and the Celtics are an interesting one, man. I never know what to make of the Celtics. That opening series with the Heat, once I saw them dominate in Boston, I was like, all right, this series is kind of a wash. But then the Heat ended up winning game 2. Then you're thinking, okay, well, this is something. And that could happen in this Cavs and this Cavs Celtics series. So I don't know, very exciting time. But I don't know. I love just seeing what the future holds for Anthony Edwards after this postseason. And you're going to have him. Ja Morant is kind of that same mold, except I don't know. If he keeps this up and he's, stays healthy, then I think that'd be a lot of fun as well. But this Western Conference, man, just keeps on getting better and better. And then it's not like a broken record at this point, but just feels like the Warriors are dropping off bit by bit, game by game.
Perfect segue because, when I'm watching these teams, I don't know how the Warriors could compete with them. And like we've said over and over again, I don't think there's a quick fix this offseason. And then we got a report from Brian Windhorst. I think it came from Brian Windhorst, but I haven't heard this actually spoken. But he said that back in 2021, when the Warriors were having this NBA draft, and they got the 2nd overall pick to take Wiseman, the Timberwolves were actually calling the Warriors about potentially trading up to go to number 1. And they didn't do it. And you ask anybody that covered the Warriors back then, like Marcus Thompson or Mark Spears, everybody says, well, that's nice, but it seems like a waste. They would have taken James Wiseman regardless. And at the time, they didn't need an Anthony Edwards. Now, would that be helpful today? Absolutely. But at the time, it made the most sense to get a big man. And in hindsight, you could kick yourself about why did they make that trade? But you don't know what they're giving up. The other thing that people bring up is the fact that the Warriors did not like Anthony Edwards coming out of college at Georgia. People thought that he didn't work hard enough. He didn't pay attention enough. We had Jim Peterson on today, Tom's old teammate with the Warriors. And he told the story about how when Steve Kerr and the Warriors scouted Anthony Edwards, they really liked him as a guy. But when it came to his attitude about playing, and I would say attitude, that's not fair, but probably just his lack of work ethic. Steve Kerr let him know, like, I think you're a great player, but you don't work damn you don't work damn hard enough. And Anthony Edwards took that to heart, and now he's kicking ass. So if anyone's to blame for Anthony Edwards being the supervillain of the NBA right now, it might be Steve Kerr.
That's it. It's the It's the start, man. It's the start. You have that one moment with Robert De Niro and the Joker, and except there's not the no spoilers in what happened in the Joker, but not the same fate as what happened there. But similar. I'm just trying to think of any.
Yeah, I hope not.
But I always struggle with that. I always struggle with that whole thing, looking back on a draft and just instantly saying a player would have worked, especially the player of the likes of Anthony Edwards, because it feels like Minnesota was like, it feels like going to a place that was rebuilding was like perfect for him. Because like you see what he's doing now. Did you see that? I'll pull it up. Did you see that thing with him and Karl Anthony Towns?
Yeah, post game.
Yeah, man. Like the leadership he's shown. I'll pull it up here, and I don't need to play the whole thing, but I'll just play it at the beginning when Karl Anthony Towns was meant to be that dude, but he really he was good, but he wasn't like a number one, the team's alpha. Seems like they got that now with Anthony Edwards. This was awesome after their win.
Years and years ago, when you came into this league as the number one pick, you were drafted not only for your offensive talent, but for your defense and the promise that everyone thought you had. Does it feel good to be getting back to that and showing your capabilities again, and not, just being viewed as the stat stuffer and the big offensive player that you were?
He was never viewed as a stat stuffer or just a. No. I know that. I'm just saying he was never viewed as that.
So like just him taking the reins there, like he was meant to be a leader, and really the Warriors weren't looking for a leader at the time. Like they were looking for just a guy who would fit in well with their system. Would Edwards have done that? Sure. But I guarantee you that he would have butted heads with the likes of maybe Clay, maybe Draymond, because this dude is a type A personality. I think Minnesota was the perfect landing spot for him. And obviously it's hindsight's 2020. Like it's easy to say that now. But I don't know if it would have worked out for the Warriors. I do buy into the Tyrese Halliburton thing. I was even saying that on the show on the pregame show. Like I think I was like pining for them to trade back and potentially take Deni Avdija or Tyrese Halliburton, because I knew Halliburton was going to be falling deep in the draft, and Avdija I think went fourth to the Wizards. So, I don't subscribe to that. But if the Warriors are the ones who jump started this drive that he had, then so be it, man. God, it's great. It's great for the league, and as much as Warrior fans want to, as much as we'd love someone like that on the team, you got to look at it in reality. Would it really have worked out? I don't know.
There's no doubt that if Draymond Green is punching Jordan Poole for talking shit to him during a practice, Anthony Edwards seems like a very cocky, confident kid, and I'm sure Draymond doesn't like it when rookies come in and talk shit to him.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm with you, Steven. He probably would have respected him for his game, but also he probably wouldn't have liked for him not to be talking back to him. And you see it right there, though. Like Anthony Edwards is respectful of Karl Anthony Towns while at the same time showing his leadership and helping him out there. I remember when the Warriors were they had the 73-9 team. And one of the few losses that season included an overtime loss at home to the Timberwolves. And at the time, they had Karl Anthony Towns, and I don't think Jimmy Butler was on that team yet, but they had Andrew Wiggins. And I think at that time, we were all saying, this is the next up-and-coming young team that's going to challenge the Warriors for years to come. And then they got Jimmy Butler. And then that all got weird, where he did the whole Rachel Nichols interview where he basically called Karl Anthony Towns soft. What are you freaking out about?
Sorry, there's the Bruins and Panthers
Yeah, I
going
see
on
it right now. There's a fight going on.
Oh, there was, and this guy clocked him square in the face as this
Yeah.
dude was on his knee. Matthew Tkachuk going at David Pastrnak, two of the team's best players getting in the scrap. It's awesome.
Little Bachuk and Pogbanak.
Little pasta.
There you go. So yeah, I remember Karl Anthony Towns being called out by Jimmy Butler for kind of being soft, and then we expected that team to go places, and it never did. And they traded Andrew Wiggins, obviously, to the Warriors. And the Minnesota Timberwolves kind of fell into mediocrity or just not even, fulfilling expectations. And then they got Anthony Edwards, and now they are a better team for it. And now they are finally being that team that we expected them to be.
I was so high on that team with Jimmy Butler, dude.
Yeah.
I was so high on that team. I was like, don't sleep on the Timberwolves.
Yeah.
Nah.
So now they're fulfilling those expectations. And yeah, man, Anthony Edwards is a fun guy to watch. And I think the Warriors are up shit's creek, to be completely honest. We can throw out all these names and a way for them to get a quick fix, a superstar where they'll contend in the West, and I just don't see it. I see Anthony Edwards and the Timberwolves. I see Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and the Thunder. I see Luka. I see Jokic. I see all these guys now taking over the West, and the Warriors will just have to figure it out. The way they can figure it out is doing what those teams did by rebuilding, getting younger, but they don't want to do that. So I don't know.
The only way they do that is by trading Steph Curry. And they
can't do that.
They can't. And he's just done so much for this community, for the organization. And though it might be better for his career, I remember when Madison Bumgarner was at the last year of his contract with the Giants, and before the trade deadline, I think it was the first year they introduced the 2 trade deadline. So it was when it was 2 trade deadlines. So it was July and August, or maybe it was when they just had the 1. Anyway, they were about to, they weren't going anywhere. It didn't feel like they were going anywhere, but towards that deadline, they started to make a run. And I don't know, at that time, it just felt like it would do him a service to trade him somewhere else. It would be better for your team, better in the long run. It would be mutually beneficial, but it's different here with and it's the same with Steph, but it's different with Steph. Like, Steph is this homegrown talent who has he has taken over this area. He has taken the Bay. Like, it's his. He is the king of this place. And I just don't think there's any way that they do that and just let him go. But unfortunately, the price of keeping him is not just the $50 to $60 million that you're going to be paying him in base salary, but you're probably not going to be contenders for the next 3-4 years, maybe 5. I don't know. It depends on how they draft. It's a big couple of years coming up for Mike Dunleavy Jr. if he still has his job by the time Steph's retired. They're going to have a new head coach once Steph's retired. Like, it's all going to end so quick. It's going to be crazy in those 2 years. When Steph's contract is done and Kerr's contract is done.
Yeah. But I don't think trading Steph Curry solves anything right now. I think you could trade other guys on the team and rebuild with Steph, but they don't want to do that.
It just sets you up better, supposedly. Hypothetically for the next few years, but it doesn't really do anything for your team now.
No, definitely not. And then, the Shams report about Clay and Orlando having mutual interest, like we talked about it last podcast. Like, yeah, it makes sense, but maybe it doesn't. Also, like, the talk that they're just going to throw a shit ton of money at him was really quickly debunked. Bobby Marks came on today. It was just like the thought of Orlando giving Klay Thompson a max contract is ludicrous. Those are his words. And I agree. How old is Klay right now? 35?
Yeah, I believe so.
I mean, you're going to max him out at that age. And then, I understand like the whole narrative of like, well, the Warriors got to, they're going to be a bidding war with the Magic. They got to, do they really want him back that bad? And I'd be like, God, no. Let the Magic sign Klay for a max deal if they're going to do that. I don't think they will.
Well, who's talking max contracts though? Like, why does that have to be it? Because the Warriors can't offer him that much. I mean, they can, but it's going to set them back quite a bit.
Yeah, well, the 2 for 48 seems reasonable to me.
Yeah.
And I would do that. But
But the
everyone,
Magic could pay a little more than that.
they might, but I think people are running with it a little bit. Like I want to say Mark Spears suggested the whole max contract thing for Klay Thompson, which I like Mark. He also said that you don't want to waste the last few years of Steph Curry. You may got to trade Kuminga now. You may got to trade Wiggins, but Sam Amick's saying that Wiggins has next to little, or basically no trade value at this moment.
No.
So I don't know what they do. That's it's going to be a long off season, and if I would just tell all the fans, if they don't make moves right away, like, don't freak out. It may just be that they don't have a lot of options, but they'll try. It's just, I don't know. I think they're going to sign back Klay. I don't think Klay really wants to go back or go to Orlando. I think he wants to come back. And I think his agent's doing the right thing by saying, yeah, of course he's interested in another team. And this is what you do with business.
Sure, but I think there's a sense of he does want to go to Orlando, or at least he's willing to, especially if the Warriors can't. If the Warriors are telling him, like, look, Klay, you might be a starter, you might be a bench player, who knows? I think he'd want a solidified role. And if the Magic can promise him, hey, you're going to be our starting 2, potentially our starting 3, you'd rather have him as a 2.
Yeah.
We're going to have you as our starting 2 guard, like, and we're going to offer you more money. Do you really want to pass up on that? I think Klay's going to have a really hard decision coming up, and the Magic are, I think the Magic are better suited for next season than the Warriors right now. Like, especially with how, like, when we've been talking about the West this whole time. I don't know what the hell to think about the East and what's going to happen with the future there. Like, the West has got a bunch of young studs who still have yet to make that big money in the NBA, whereas in the East, a lot of those guys are already paid, and they're just kind of like coasting at this point. I think the Magic have a real chance to do some damage next year. And if Klay wants to as well, I know he'd want to be a Warrior for life, but shoot, man, like there seems to be a lot of advantages to going to Orlando.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, no state income tax, but I don't know. I still have a hard time believing Klay will want to go there, but we'll see what happens. Maybe money talks and bullshit walks.
Yeah, it will be, and I'm not saying he'll do that. It's going to be an easy decision for him, like not by any means. And I'm not saying I want him out of here, but I'm just saying that Paolo Banchero, Jalen Suggs, team needs some scoring. Franz Wagner, like, it's a pretty nice starting 5 where you could be the veteran, but who knows?
Yeah, but does Klay want to be that guy? Does Klay want to be the veteran that everybody looks to help motivate or have all the answers? I think Klay likes being the fun guy on a good team.
Yeah, but and the Warriors do understand him. He's a very unique individual in that he's probably not going to answer his phone, and who knows what the Magic are going to take to when it comes to him. And yeah, but I think the Warriors also, I do think that I know Joe Lacob loves to spend, but I take his words to heart when he wants to stay under the luxury tax. And
yes,
with that luxury tax apron, I found it interesting. I know we're going to get to the Shark stuff, but like how Celebrini's dad, Rick, said that Chris Paul was the one who called him to congratulate him. I'm like, is Chris Paul going to be here next season?
No,
the non-guaranteed contract, $30 million.
Yeah, but tied with Rick.
It was a nice phone call. I'm not saying that, but he's probably not going to be around next season because they want to stay under the luxury tax. Like,
probably not.
It's tough, man. It's really tough.
Yeah, no, it will be. Speaking of basketball, real quick, I want to bring this up. This has been making the rounds a lot the last few days. Austin Rivers going on Pat McAfee show. What did he say exactly? So he said that he could take 30 NBA players and turn them into NFL players?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And then you had a bunch of NFL players just totally offended by that. How many guys you think in the NBA could currently play in the NFL right now?
It's such a loaded question.
I know it is.
You mean just straight take them from the NBA and just put them on an NFL field?
Yeah.
None of them. However, I do think if some of those players would have taken the football route, then they would have gotten their bodies accustomed to what football players are used to every day. And I do think they would be some very successful NFL players if they decided to go that route. I take, even thinking Matt Barnes, he was one of the best wide receivers in Southern California. He was like all state back in high school. I think had he taken the NFL route, but also you could say that for football players too. Like it goes both sides. That's the thing that's kind of ignorant about it. Is just to say that you could do that with NBA to the NFL. You could do that with the NFL to the NBA too, just to totally brush that off. It's kind of reckless, really.
Totally reckless. And I think it's stupid. And I think it's kind of ridiculous that these guys are getting offended by what just Austin Rivers says. I know he's a young guy and he's getting into the media game, but this is so hyperbole and just hot takey. And yeah, I think that, of course, everyone said if you put LeBron on an NFL team, he probably plays well. If you put Zion on an NFL team, he probably plays well. But these guys need to be, conditioned to play in the NFL. You got to go through training camp. You got to get your body right.
Right.
Getting your body right for the NBA is totally different than getting your body right for the NFL. At the same time, like we've all seen Myles Garrett, I guess, is a very good basketball player. And Terrell Owens played, college basketball, Randy Moss, Tony Gonzalez. There's a ton of guys.
Jimmy Graham.
But it's not that simple. It's not that simple of, oh, well, he's good on the basketball court, so he can play in the NBA or the NFL or vice versa. I thought the whole argument was kind of stupid, and I thought it was kind of, while I know NFL players take pride in, them making it to the league, they don't need to stoop down to responding to Austin Rivers.
Well, let me take this as an opportunity, Derek, to reheat this take that I've had around the NFL Pro Bowl games.
Oh, you're gonna air fry it?
I'm gonna do this I'm gonna do this to the camera. Hey, Roger, if you want your Pro Bowl games, you want another thing besides the tug of war and the flag football that you got going on, give us a 5-on-5 pickup game with defensive ends and tight ends. Do it. You will make millions off of it. I promise you. And Cooper DeJean can be the token point guard because I saw highlights of Cooper DeJean from high school. He looked pretty awesome. So do it, Roger. Give us the 5-on-5 defensive end, tight end pickup game, the NFL Pro Bowl. I know you probably don't want to cross-pollinate with sports. Take a chance, Roger. You're coming up to the end of your commissionership anyway.
The hell are you talking about?
Isn't he going to be like done after the next few years? Oh, wait, maybe. That's Rob Manfred. I got my commissioners mixed up. My bad.
No. Despite how the public feels about Roger Goodell, the owners love him.
Well, yeah, of course they do. I got a ring light on my camera. Now I'm kind of blind.
No, I thought you had a sneeze coming on.
No, now I can barely see. Yeah,
God. I thought the whole outrage of Austin Rivers was kind of ridiculous. It's like, his opinion, whatever.
You don't hear a lot of it though with baseball. Ernie Chavez brought that up. He just mentioned Mahomes, who could probably do it. Yeah, Mahomes is like an all-around natural athlete, but we know what Mahomes did with baseball. Like he could easily be a pitcher. AJ Brown, I think, could have been a baseball player.
Kyler Murray.
Kyler Murray, obviously. Then there's, from basketball, you could probably plug Donovan Mitchell into Major League Baseball and have him play. I think he was a pretty good ball player when he was younger. Yeah, dude. It's a ridiculous argument. It's a stupid debate. But I just love how, especially like James Jones went after him on FS1, which was awesome. But I love how all the offensive linemen, offensive linemen, just and the D linemen, the guys who have it the roughest at training camp. Like I love how they just instantly were like, "Ooh, yeah, okay, Austin, all right." Chris Long went off on him. Jeff Schwartz was just going all over Twitter.
Went off on him for way too long. Like I like Chris Long, but like God, this is why we need the NFL schedule, because people are just reacting to this thing. It's slow news day.
015 West says Trent Brown says he's the best b-ball player on the Niners. I believe that.
No, I believe that.
Yeah,
he's just like Shaq out there, just big as shit. No one can stop that.
Oh, no. Just posted it up. You kidding me? Give a little baby hook, the T. Williams baby hook.
Just feed him down to the post, man. He doesn't need to move. Going back to the Bischoff real quick.
Oh, Max Crosby. Forgot about Max Crosby. Did we even mention him?
Did he play basketball?
Oh, dude's a baller. Yeah, he didn't play basketball, but if you see any highlights, you're like, damn, don't get hurt.
What about Mookie Betts? He's like good at everything.
Did I say Trent Brown?
No, you said Trent Williams, I think.
Oh, okay. Never mind. They're making they're fooling me here. 415 West said Trent Brown, or then tacky Trent Taylor. You guys are messing with me here.
I know what you said. I know what you meant. Going back to Bischoff real quick. Weird moment that happened at the ceremony. Actually, a very good moment, but a weird ending. So they had an in memoriam segment, Stephen, and they only honored a few people. People that were involved in Bay Area sports that passed away last year, or I guess this year. They honored our good buddy Michael Urban, which I was very happy they did that. They gave him a moment, put his picture up there, and everybody, had a moment of silence for him. And then, I guess before Michael, O.J. Simpson was up on there. And I know you got to do it, but the look at everybody's face when that happened, we were all just like, ooh, O.J., huh? Like this is back to the conversation we had a few months ago when O.J. passed away, or a month ago. How do you do that? Do you have to do that? Do you do it and not acknowledge, hey, this guy also, big time murder guy? It was just an awkward moment. And I'm not knocking the Bay Area Sports Hall of Fame because they do a great job. But that particular moment where O.J. Simpson's picture was up, we all looked around like, ooh.
Well, we have to know that it was probably a long discussion, and then there was a debate. And ultimately they came to that decision. I'm not going to be the one to do that. It's better than what Chris Broussard said on First Things First.
What'd he say?
He was talking about Najee Harris. I think it was Najee Harris. He was talking about like Cowboys starting running backs, and he's like, forget about the Cowboys getting a star at running back. They need a starter. And then he went on to mention, I think, Najee Harris, and then used O.J. Simpson as a comp. Out of all the running backs, great running back, out of all the running backs that you could compare him to, you really got to bring up OJ's name.
Well, okay. Did he acknowledge it as playing style?
Yeah. Well, he didn't acknowledge
anything. Simpson off the field.
No, you didn't. You weren't talking about off the field, but he dude, it was like you just brought up. And he's just like, yeah, OJ Simpson. It's like, what? You brought up OJ Simpson. He's like, well, maybe not that. Actually, I gotta find it. I'm sorry. Chris Broussard. I like him a lot. To be honest, he's come on a lot on the radio, and I think he's very, very good at what he does, and I think he knows a lot. But I can't find the comp.
No, that's fine. I would say that's fair. I haven't heard it, but the guy was one of the best running backs of all time. I had a situation in NFL Network where, go ahead, Blatt.
Oh, I got it.
Henry, I think it helps them tremendously because I don't think Dak is
okay. Sounds like they're going for Derrick Henry. That's what they're talking about here. Derrick Henry,
the type of quarterback where he's just going to carry the team on his back shoulders to great heights. Mm-hmm. He might carry you to 11, 12 wins, but great heights without a strong running game, I don't see it. All right. And so, yeah, I would have loved to see them have gotten Derrick Henry. But if not a star, how about just a starter? I mean, seriously, like, is Rico Dowdle, Deuce Vaughn, Zeke Elliott at this point starters? That's why the Najee Harris stuff makes sense. I'm not saying he's O.J. Simpson, but you could put him in there. I mean, okay, still.
Earl Campbell.
Yeah, he needed to give more detail than that. But I had a situation. I had a situation in NFL Network where they were cutting a promo for the NFL 100 where they were doing the panel with Rich Eisen, Chris Collinsworth, and Bill Belichick, and they were doing like tonight they're counting down the best running backs of all time. So we put a package together. It was just supposed to be 30 seconds B-roll, and we show all the best: Emmitt Smith, Barry Sanders, Jim Brown, Earl Campbell, and then my editor's like, "Should we throw OJ in there?" And I was like, "Yeah, why not? He is one of the best." So you're allowed. I think you're allowed to do that. I think you are allowed to do that when you're having a conversation about best players of all time. And of course, our production supervisor came over and said, like, you got to take Juice out of there. And I was like, okay, I get it. But he is part of the list. He is part of that list. That night, they did acknowledge him as one of the best running backs of all time. So I think it's fair in that context. However, at the Bay Area Sports Hall of Fame, just the in memoriam, yes, I understand you have to do it, but it was just a very awkward moment.
Yeah. Understandably.
Yes, Walter Payton, Ernie Chavez brings up here. Yes, Walter Payton, he was in that too.
And if you're gonna bring up Bay Area sports,
yes, Galileo High School,
there is no doubt that he, in the first half of his life, was the All-American football player out of San Francisco. Like there's no denying that, and he kind of had a dream career in the NFL. I'm not going to go further into this because I don't want to dive into the OJ rabbit hole. I just love the phrase, I'm not saying he's OJ Simpson.
Yeah.
I love that. Describing anybody.
Needed to give it more context.
I'm not saying he's OJ Simpson, but
that's the man's got some skeletons in his closet. Let me just say
that. Spike Lee's going insane. Anyway.
Yeah, it looks like the Knicks are going to go up 2-0. Jalen Brunson came back the second half, so it looks like the Knicks will be up 2-0 in the series against the Pacers. They're currently up 127-118. We'll give you the final when it's official.
Brunson's such a stud, man. I love Brunson.
No, he's been fun to watch.
Wow, Rick Carlisle's just had. Oh, he's ejected. Oh, Carlisle got ejected
for what? For being pissed?
I don't know. I didn't see the entire.
You're way ahead of me. I'm seeing Spike Lee go crazy now.
Oh.
But yeah, Jalen Brunson's been not as entertaining as Anthony Edwards, but still pretty entertaining this postseason.
God, it's just you get to the fourth quarter and he's still hitting these little mid-range floaters, and then you just see that he's got 40 points. It's like, damn.
Yeah. So far, I'm off to a bad start with my picks. By the way, never mixing those two sauces together again. I know you don't see it on the stream or the podcast. You don't hear it. But that was punishment. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Soup was on.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Damn.
I won't be more graphic than that.
How many trips? Come on, be honest. How many trips to the bathroom? Like,
well, as soon as we got done on Sunday, I raced over, and then 2 more times later that day.
Damn.
So great. So 3.
Yeah, those are the worst. When you get to like the third one, because unfortunately we both have experience in this department. Once you get to the second and third, that's when it really starts to burn.
Yep. And that's basically when your butt's crying and it's like, why did you do this to me?
Yep. Your body's wondering, what the hell, man? Do you hate me?
Yeah. No, it was the mix of Da Bomb and the Last Dab. Don't mix those together.
Nope.
That's why they're separate. Well, I guess they consume it all together, but yeah, Sean is not ever mixing the two sauces together for hot ones. You're wearing the jersey. Big news for the San Jose Sharks. They get the first overall pick in franchise history at the lottery yesterday. And everyone is assuming, and they're right to assume, I think the Sharks are not being shy about it. They have the intention of drafting Macklin Celebrini, the son of Rick Celebrini, head trainer of the Warriors, and Sharks fans are ecstatic. Tell me why, Steven. How good is this guy?
It's not just the talent. I haven't broke out this jersey in a long time, by the way. I got it for Christmas when I was I was still in high school. It was when the Sharks were really good, and I just wanted to be different because I was like a egghead as a kid, that stupid contrarian who just didn't like the classic, Joe Thornton, Patrick Marleau, I think Danny Boyle at the time. So I asked my parents for a Devin Setaguchi jersey.
Oh,
So
look at you.
Yeah, you said, yeah. See, Otis Bird says that Sharks jersey looks fresh. Yeah. Until you see the big old stain that I got in the middle of it. See that right there below the collar? Can you hang on, right there? You
Come
see
on,
that?
Steven. You could get that out easily.
It's been a long time, man. I don't know if I can. Anyway,
Have you listened to the Backstreet Boys?
where are you going with that?
They're on that commercial, the Downy commercial. I need to throw out this Backstreet Boys T-shirt. Tell me why, because it stinks.
I hear that. I hear that a lot. AJ Cruz, have some class, nice guy. Where's the cheat shoe? Everyone had a cheat shoe. Everyone had a cheat shoe too. It was between Setaguchi and Torrey Mitchell. That's how different I wanted to be. Anyway,
Nick's officially up to nothing. 130, 121.
It's not just the talent. Like this dude, 17 years old, youngest to ever win the college hockey version of the Heisman. He was just a freshman over there at Boston University. But what's exciting is the Sharks have just been kind of coasting since they lost after that 2019 season when they beat the Knights in the opening round. They've been kind of free falling because they handed out some bad contracts. They got one of the best defensemen in the NHL in Erik Karlsson, but then nothing materialized there, and it's been 5 straight losing seasons, and eventually they had to blow the whole thing up. And this past season, they weren't even rebuilding. They were just they weren't even rebuilding. They were just kind of
bad.
Yeah, like everyone has this in their neighborhood or their city, where something's just been under construction forever, and you drive by and you don't really notice it. You're not even thinking about it. And then suddenly a year's gone by and you're like, what the hell? Why is this thing not built? Like, haven't they made any progress? That's kind of where the Sharks were for these past couple of seasons, especially after they traded away Erik Karlsson and Timo Meier last year. And then this season going on to have the worst record they've had since like the 90s. So
they're like a chairlift under repair.
Exactly. But now you could start to get the chairlift moving because not only with Macklin Celebrini, but I think one of the Hobie Baker finalists was the Sharks' 4th overall pick from last year, Will Smith, who decided to forego his rookie season to play in college. Like, hockey's weird. Hockey's weird because there's no developmental league. You don't just go straight to college and then get drafted. Like, these guys know. It's called the entry draft. Hockey teams know when these dudes are going to be like the best. They just know it at a very young age. But you need some development. So there is a chance, for all we know, that Celebrini just decides to go play his sophomore season at Boston U. Very well could. Yeah, he very well could. Like,
he was part of the draft lottery show the other night.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, guys do that. It happens. Like Flyers fans were pissed this year because their guy Cutter Gauthier, I believe his name is, decided to opt out of the Flyers, and I believe there's a whole thing that went on there. But yeah, guys do that all the time.
What was his name? Cutter what?
Gauthier.
Damn.
Yeah.
So he's playing for who?
He was playing for the Flyers, and then I think he ended up dropping out of his contract and getting traded.
So now Flyer fans know him as somebody they used to know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they do.
It's pretty good by me.
Yes, they do, Derek. Very, very well done.
So
anyway,
point being, sorry. Just to ask a question, a real quick question. If Celebrini goes back for a sophomore season, do the Sharks lose his rights?
No. He's still under contract.
Okay,
he's still under contract. But I'm going to break it out. But you remember that John Gruden mic'd up when
of course.
I
remember them all.
He is talking to his players at training camp. It's in Tampa Bay. And he's like,
you got to build a beautiful mansion, man.
He's like, you ever build a mansion, a big, beautiful mansion? You got to build a foundation, man. You got to build the blocks. And anyway, that's what the Sharks are doing right now. It seems like they have a foundation now with their 4th overall pick from last year, Will Smith, who's likely going to the NHL. Then you plug Macklin Celebrini, who, he might play his sophomore season, but really like a lot of NHL analysts are saying that he's ready. Like he's ready to go. It's just up to him really at this point. And it's not unheard of to see a number 1 overall pick at 18 years old play his rookie season, because we saw that with Connor Bedard in the Chicago Blackhawks this year. So they got something cooking, man. And I think that's just where the excitement is. And then there's just the added aspect of the Warriors and just the fact that someone from their staff, his son is the number 1 overall pick. Like, how often does that happen when those worlds collide? That will be huge for them for the next couple of years. And I've been going on and on and on, and I apologize, but I got one more. I got one more guy I want to point out. And this is someone who, if you haven't watched any Sharks games, you're probably not familiar with. But I'm going to point out Mario Ferraro. He is a defenseman for the Sharks. He is one of their few veterans that they had this year. And he kind of took the Dame Lillard route with the Blazers. You know, when asked about the deadline, he's like, you know, sure, I could get traded and all this sort of stuff, but really I want to stick here because we got unfinished business. And Ferraro, who's very, very good and could help a contender, he's like, no, I like this organization. I love San Jose. I love the Bay Area. I want to get something done here. And I feel like we're building something and we are on the way. So I want to shout out Mario Ferraro, and Jesse would call me out for BSing because I was kind of, you know, I was prodding a little bit before the trade deadline because she loves Ferraro. And I was like, he could get traded though, could get traded. And now he's not, and he's sticking with the team. So I'm very happy for him in that respect, just because he's staying loyal to the Sharks. And now he could see this thing build and hopefully get back to the playoffs.
Well, having the first overall pick in your respected sport in the Bay Area is not very common. I'll go through the history here. The San Francisco Giants have never had the first overall pick.
Nope.
A's never had the first overall pick. 49ers, 3 times. Harry Babcock, funny name, had a 3-year career. Dave Parks in 1964, 2-time first-team All-Pro. And then there's Alex Smith. There's a big debate of whether or not he actually panned out with the 49ers. With the Warriors, you got Fred Hetzel, had a 7-year career. Joe Barry Carroll, who kind of turned into a journeyman. Not many people think of him very fondly. If you ask Tom Tolbert or other guys that played with him, they're like, Joe was good. Joe was a good dude.
Joe barely cares.
Yes, exactly.
Shout out to Joe Hawks working at KCBS. He brought that up earlier today.
Yep. And there was Joe Smith in 1995, who was kind of the same thing, just kind of a journeyman later in his life. And then, of course, we all know Jamarcus Russell with the Raiders. So Macklin Celebrini has a chance to maybe be the biggest prospect to be the first overall pick for a Bay Area team. Alex Smith, you know, there was debate of whether or not should it be Aaron Rodgers, should it be Alex Smith. And some say Alex Smith did pan out with the Niners. Others would say, he wasn't great. I will also say this. With the way that hockey's covered in the Bay Area, Macklin Celebrini will be given the benefit of the doubt many a time because we don't cover hockey like we do, or like, you know, East Coast does, or other crazy hockey towns. So I think he'll be given the chance to grow if he needs it, but it sounds like this guy's a stud, so I'm looking forward to the future.
Dude, it's great for Sharks fans, man, because if anyone like just randomly, you know, has never tuned in before and never saw those teams from the late 2000s into the 2010s, I'm not going to sit here. I'm not going to, like, I'm wearing a jersey. I'm not going to act like I'm like some diehard, all right? Like who's stuck with this team through thick and thin since they first started in 1991. I'm not going to act like I've been, because I wasn't even born then. But good God, those teams in the late 2000s made it so easy to get into the game, because my friends loved hockey and they're telling me, dude, hockey's awesome. And the Warriors were kind of, you know, they had the We Believe era, but after that they were kind of trending downward. So there wasn't really much to look forward to except for, I don't know, Corey Maggette. Then, but when you're watching Thornton and Marlowe and as they mentioned, Chichu, all those guys, Doug Murray, Kyle McLaren, the enforcer, Jody Shelley, even, who would just get into a bunch of fights every game. Like, they made it so fun to watch. And if anyone's never been into hockey before, well, when there's a really good team, like it's almost impossible to not love it and to not go back every game and see what these guys are going to do because they are really fantastic. And I still think in the Bay Area, Joe Thornton and Patrick Marleau are two of the most underrated superstars in this market because they just don't get the love that I feel like they deserve. But it's just good for the Sharks fans, man, because that SAP Center, it gets so loud. It's so fun during playoff time. Jesse was at that Game 7 against the Knights in 2019, and I'm so jealous that she was. But if the Sharks can get back to that, God, man, it's just it sucked being like the best team, seeing them be the best team in the NHL for a few years, and then just completely drop off and turn into the worst. Like when SAP Center is rocking, it is such a fun atmosphere. It's just great, man. I'm just super excited for the fan base, super excited for the city of San Jose. Just everyone involved. Mike Greer, the GM, was a part of those teams too. He was a great player. Well, maybe not great, but he was tough. Definitely tough. He was a defenseman. Stoked for the man. Just stoked.
Yeah, man. When the Sharks are good, it's fun. I remember going to the Stanley Cup games in 2016 where they ended up losing to the Penguins, but it was a good time. And yeah, shout out Patty Marleau, man. He was honored at the Bay Area Sports Hall of Fame, so it was good to see him up there. But yeah, man, when they're winning, it's fun. Now they may not get the same love, they don't, as the Giants, Warriors, or 49ers in the Bay Area. But when they're winning, the Bay Area takes a little bit of interest. But that's what I'm talking about. Like if Macklin Celebrini is great, then he'll make the Bay Area interested. But if he's not, then I think, people go on and they don't really notice it. The Sharks fans will, obviously, but the collective Bay Area will be like, all right, well, we don't care about hockey in the first place.
Yep. Yeah. And the marketing opportunities, man, like you got Return of the Mac. You got everything you could do with Macklin, and then you got Will Smith. That writes itself.
Macklemore and Will Smith.
Slapshot. That was a good one.
Oh,
Slapshot.
Yeah,
Get it?
I got you.
Anyway, I'll say this. Good God, there's a kinship with football and hockey. You'll find a lot in the playoffs.
Yeah.
That like whenever a football team is playing really well, that football team will go to those games. And you even saw it earlier. The Niners would always go to the Sharks games and
open the doors.
Joe Staley would go nuts. And there was kind of a missed opportunity there with how bad they were when the Niners are back to Super Bowl prominence. And, the Sharks are one of the worst in the NHL.
Yeah.
Like they're not going to be out there during the playoffs. Like it's just awesome to see like all these teams unite. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that they're going to make the playoffs this coming year or even the next, but in 2-3 years time, man, like when Steph Curry's still around and maybe Draymond, all these Rick Celebrini, I mean, he's probably going to stick around with the Warriors. They love him. It's just going to be so fun. It's going to be a lot of fun in the Bay Area.
Well, you were saying, the marketing opportunities and the connection between football and hockey. There's going to be a huge connection between basketball and hockey with the Warriors and Rick Celebrini. That video of Draymond talking about going to see Mac when he was in college or wherever he was playing, that's been passed around. You're going to see a very like Rick Celebrini. The Warriors season's been done for quite some times, and Raymond Ritter put him on the stand today, like a press conference, to talk about his son. And he was there for, I think it was like a 30-minute press conference. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, there'll be a connection there. You'll see a lot of Warriors/Sharks connection now if Macklin ends up going there, which he most likely will.
Lot of interview requests for Rick today. A lot of them. So they were just like, we're going to hold a press conference because we don't need him doing dozens of interviews.
I was waiting for one rogue reporter to be like, so did you clear Kevin Durant in the 2019 finals?
Was James Wiseman really being reevaluated in 2 weeks?
No one took that opportunity, which I was like, it's kind of soft for the Bay Area media. No, I liked it.
The soft Bay Area media strikes again.
Exactly. But I was, I'm glad that Rick's enjoying the moment, and it's going to be a great moment for him in a month when the actual draft goes down. And the NHL playoffs are fun, man. I mean, I'm watching right now. Who is the Predators and actually I just turned it off. But there's 2 overtime games last night. There was a game 7 overtime between the Maple Leafs and the Bruins. Overtime hockey's awesome. So hopefully the Sharks get good so they can be a part of it.
Jesse with a little fun fact. I peed my pants a little bit at that game.
Just a little bit, huh?
Just a little bit. Just a little drop.
I think even a little pee is too much. What'd you say?
Nah, I think you have the right to in that case. AJ Cruz, shout out to San Jose, California. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then Tacky's just being tacky.
You mean Ronnie McGee? I know your real name, Ronnie.
Oh yeah, yeah, Ronnie.
Yeah, he messed up and went to the wrong account earlier. But good to see you, Tacky. We got everybody here tonight except for Skills. That's okay. We'll see Skills one of these days. All right, Steven. Before we get out of here, we did a show on Sunday, and we were talking about this, and then it premiered later that night. The roast of Tom Brady. The GOAT or the GROAT, whatever the hell they called it, the greatest roast of all time.
Yeah, the GROAT.
The GROAT. Did you watch the whole thing?
I did. I was locked in, dude.
All 3 hours live, or you watched it back later?
Oh, I watched it live.
Look at you. See, you were giving me shit like it was, you're acting like this is like a major sporting event. I watched it back later.
Yeah, I watched it live.
I was tapped into some playoff hockey before I went into that.
I had it on the small screen. I had the volume up and and I think I had whatever was on multi-view on the big screen. But yeah,
I was even watching Giants and Phillies before that. How about that, huh?
Terrible series.
Well, watched who's the guy? Brandon Marsh?
Yeah.
Mic'd up.
His mic'd up segment was awesome.
Interesting guy. Funny moment with him catching the ball and then naming off the guys he have in the band.
Yeah. What do you call what's his piece of advice? Keep it sexy.
Yeah, keep it simple, sexy, something like that.
Yeah, keep it simple, sexy.
He was good. So you watched all 3 hours. What'd you think?
I'll say this. Roasts live are great.
Yep.
I just learned that they edited out some of it. In the recorded part, I heard they edited out like the booing for Kim Kardashian. But
did they?
That's what I heard. That's what I read. I read it
maybe
somewhere.
Now, but I watched it right after it aired. They had that in there, and she was getting heavy boos. It was unfair. Yeah. There's people just didn't like her.
Well, fair or not, I thought it was great.
Yep.
I enjoyed every moment of it, except for every roast has its duds. It's like it's just automatically if there's like one bad set, so to speak, then we put that over the entire roast. No, it was great. The jokes were flying. They were uncensored, unhinged. I thought some of the athletes really like Drew Bledsoe. I thought Drew Bledsoe was just a great sport about the entire thing. Just taking shots at him with the same joke over and over. It's kind of like the Taco Bell menu, right? It's like, sure, you're presenting me a different item, but you're using the same ingredients. Like everyone was just making fun of Bledsoe because Tom Brady took his job after an injury ended his career. And you're just getting different jokes for that. 515 West. Yeah. Gronk was kind of cringe. Yeah. Gronk was awful. There's no doubt about that. Tom Segura and Bert Kreischer did not, whatever their whole thing was, it didn't work. But overall, like I thought it was great. Bill Belichick, like it gave me the vibe, in like a movie. I'm not gonna say like any specific movie, but like in a movie when there's like a kind of a kid who's kind of timid and the school's got this upcoming talent show and then the kid walks on stage and he's all nervous and then he starts doing his thing. Then the crowd's getting behind him. Then he gets a little more confident after that. And like Chris Farley in Black Sheep, right? Like when he gets on stage and he's just, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But when Belichick got more comfortable, like him laughing at the end of every one of his jokes, smiling. I don't know what it did, but it added something to it. It was like the perfect little cherry on top of every single joke was just Belichick smiling. I thought it was great. I really did. Every moment of it. Good God, why am I forgetting his name? Julian Edelman, I thought was awesome. Every comedian besides Kreischer and Segura, but these roasts need to be live, man. They need to be live. I don't like edited versions anymore. Like I'm all about live roasts. If you give me a live roast where anything can happen, all about it. And also Kevin Hart was great in the first half, and then in the second half kind of fell off as he got more drunk.
Before I get into the roast real quick, ask and you shall receive. Skills is in the building. What's up, Skills? Nice. Everybody's here tonight. Yeah, I actually was pleasantly surprised. I shouldn't be, because all of the Comedy Central roasts back in the day were always well done, but they were on Comedy Central, so they were edited. This was fantastic from start to finish. And let me just say this. Kevin Hart's fine. I just don't think he's great. Like, I don't think he's – it sounded like he just went, off the cuff, like he was paid to be there, and he just kind of did his shit on the fly, which, he was good for the most part, but he's just not my cup of tea. Everybody was great for the most part. Drew Bledsoe was very good at what he did. He leaned into the Giselle stuff a lot. That was, I'm surprised. I thought, they're going to bring up Giselle and Aaron Hernandez. They let it fly. Everything that you thought you could bring up with Tom Brady, you could, except for Jeff Ross, who mentioned, he told the story about how when Tom Brady met Robert Kraft for the first time, and he said, "I'm going to be the best decision you ever made in this franchise. Would you like a massage?" And Tom did not like that whatsoever. It wasn't a Will Smith moment, but he let it be known to him that don't say that shit again. And which I thought was kind of weak, because I understand that Robert Kraft, I guess in the Patriots' eyes, can't be touched, can't make fun of him, can't say anything about him. But yeah, that of all the things that were said that night between Giselle and the karate instructor, Aaron Hernandez, and him being murdered or him committing suicide, but also being a murderer. God forbid they joke about Robert Kraft getting a handy at some spa, and that's just Tom protecting his guy. But Randy Moss was terrible, I would say. Yeah. Randy Moss,
forgettable.
That's the thing. I really appreciated Belichick and Edelman the most. Those guys were incredible. Edelman, his joke about Aaron Hernandez, good Lord. Jesus. Wow. It was funny, but, it's funny how these guys don't want to talk about it in interviews, and then, they joke about it at the roast. He was great because I think he did his own stuff. And then Belichick, he killed me with the Alex Guerrero line. He was like, me and Tom butt heads. But, we didn't really butt heads because his head was up Alex Guerrero's ass the whole time. It was great. He acknowledged the Apple TV documentary and said, that was a 10-part roast of me. It was fantastic. I think it was good because those guys sold it really well and may have written their own jokes. I kind of think of roasts, this may be unfair because not everybody's a comedian, but I kind of think of roasts as rappers. I think comedians are like rappers in the sense of if you're gonna say jokes, you got to write it yourself. You got to be authentic. The same thing with ghostwriters or rappers. If you rhyme with somebody else's rhymes, it just doesn't feel as authentic to me. So for Gronk and all these other guys to come up and use other people's material, I thought was kind of weird. Because Gronk, he made a point I wrote that joke. That joke was written by me. I was like, that's kind of weird. Nikki Glaser, as far as the comedians, Nikki Glaser was amazing. She was fantastic. I don't know this guy, but he did a fantastic job. Tony Hinchcliffe.
You don't know Tony Hinchcliffe?
I don't, actually. It was the first time I noticed him.
I've told the whole Dana White thing. I've told you, man, you got to watch that. And anyone who likes stand-up comedy, it's so organic, the show that he does. He's done this live podcast for a long time. It's called Kill Tony. And he does it at this place in Austin, and he just draws random names out of a hat, and that name is in the audience and comes up and does a 60-second bit each week. It's great. I highly recommend it. It's very refreshing to watch because a majority of the time the comedians bomb. and watching
Okay.
someone, willingly bomb and then have to answer questions about it. It's awesome. But yeah, Tony Hinchcliffe was great. Dana White, kind of weird.
Very weird. Very weird.
Yeah. That was a hilarious joke about mispronouncing your name to the liberals. That was just so funny, Dana. God, you're hilarious.
Yeah.
I wish someone would have made fun of him for not paying his fighters. But anyway.
And then Sam J, I thought was really good. She was funny. Andrew Schultz, I thought was really good. Ron Burgundy, listen, man, I love me some Will Ferrell as Ron Burgundy, but that seemed a little forced. That just seemed like, hey, let's get Ron Burgundy up here. We haven't seen him in quite some time.
Telling you, it's weird. It's weird. It's sad. It's a sad era. We're seeing Will like reprise all these old roles, and I know people love it, but it's been 23 years now. Like or whatever. It's 21 years. Like people born in that year can drink now.
Yeah.
It's been that long since the first movie came out. Like I didn't need Anchorman in there. I would have loved Will Ferrell. Would have loved Will Ferrell. If
it was just Will, that would have been great. Or, like I would have loved to see Bill Burr there, but he's probably on tour or something. Ben Affleck, dear Lord. He just came out like a whiny fanboy, like, oh, this guy on Twitter says that Tommy's not the best, and just like, dude, you gonna have some jokes here? Like, what are you doing? You're just going off on social media people. You're going off on trolls. What this is ridiculous.
Yeah, that was weird. That was a weird moment too.
And I thought Tom's last, set, whatever he did, his own 5 minutes, kind of weird. He's just kind of a not authentic person. Like when he's trying to be funny and on, just doesn't come across smooth, and that may be foreshadowing his broadcasting career. But while his jokes were kind of funny, just his delivery was bad.
It was very robotic.
Yeah, it was very robotic.
It was robotic. The thing I liked about it, though, and if you watch those Comedy Central roasts, a lot of it is just the comedians more roasting the people on the dais as opposed to the actual person they're supposed to roast. It's just you'll find that the roast master just instantly goes at all the comedians. Like that's the thing that struck me first is like, damn, Kevin Hart is just going straight for the jugular, just going at Brady and immediately making a Giselle joke. I'm like, oh, this is different. They're actually going to roast Tom Brady. I thought it was going to be like a lot of those other ones where, they roast the person. They roast David Hasselhoff. They roast Charlie Sheen. They do all that. But they also roast the comedians on the day. You didn't see a lot of that. You saw a lot of it directed towards Brady. And I thought that was really refreshing. I really did.
Yeah. No, I liked it too. I just thought Tom was, as you said, robotic. Peyton Manning, his jokes weren't the best written, but his delivery is fantastic.
He's
like
so
I love
good.
where he was like, I coming out here and and when they told me it was an opportunity to come out here and have a Manning roast of Brady, I took the opportunity, which we also call in my family Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
No, he's just very funny and his delivery is fantastic. Trying to think of anything else that stood out in that ceremony. Yeah, Kim Kardashian got booed. That was just she was up there. It was kind of random. She wasn't great, but she's not a comedian. I didn't really know what the whole point of that was. Robert Kraft with the can you tell Vladimir Putin to get my fucking ring back? And then him and Belichick kind of begrudgingly taking a shot together. He had a great line though, where he said, you could go be quarterback of the Raiders now because you love when Jimmy Garoppolo's not around anymore. Like that's a pretty good line. I heard Rich Eisen say this, and he kind of introduced the whole ceremony first. It was just kind of a good therapy session for the Patriots dynasty, because if you watch the dynasty show on Apple TV, it just looks like it ended poorly. But then they all came together and had a big laugh. So I thought it was actually kind of heartwarming in the end.
Yeah, I did too. Like I'm like, damn, what if you get all these dynasties together and I don't know, like bring the Chicago Bulls and have them all go up there, or if Kobe was still alive, I would say like bring the Lakers up there and with Shaq and everything, and in baseball bring the Yankees and put Derek Jeter and A-Rod there, and
do the Warriors.
Paul, do the Warriors. Like
Kevin Durant.
It's something they really could do for sports, and I don't even know if it has to be like the roast of a single individual. Like it was personally at Tom Brady, but let's just the roast of the dynasty roasts, and then you just make it, every dynasty known to man, and you just bring them up there, and you bring fans of whichever comedians are fans of that team, or whichever comedians are most popular at the time. Bring them up there to roast them that are sports fans. Like, come on, dude, it's a great idea.
And I know a lot of people like I saw David Bakhtiari tweet this out. Like, comedy is back. There's no more like PC culture and all this bullshit. Now we can say what we actually feel, and that goes along the lines of what Jerry Seinfeld was talking about. Look, I think a lot of things are blamed these days on, people trying to be woke and PC culture and all that shit. And I will say that comedy has kind of taken a step back a little bit in the sense of you can't joke about this, you can't joke about that. I think we all strive to be better as a society, and we watch what we say and watch what we do and what we think. But we all can look at on the past and be like, yeah, that's not fun. Like today, you couldn't do that, but it was funny in that time. It was just kind of refreshing, I will say, to see people just let it fly and not really care and just say what was on their mind and what was funny. I think that's kind of restraint these days a little bit. It was fun to see like what you would normally hear at a comedy club, like portrayed to the world on a big Netflix show. And does that mean that's going to change comedy? I don't think so. But I don't know. Like I do think comedy has kind of died down a little bit, but I think not for those particular reasons. I think that people are just kind of, they don't want to offend anybody, and I get that. But I thought it was fantastic. I know some people are outraged. Obviously Aaron Hernandez's widow was not happy about what was said, and Giselle wasn't happy about what they said about her. But it's just jokes, everybody. Let's all just relax.
Anytime someone makes that statement, I just don't think they've been paying attention. I really don't. Like I don't really know where it all came from. Like stand-up comedy to me has never really died. Like all the great comedians were still saying whatever they wanted to say. Yeah. The only reason those guys were getting canceled is because Louis C.K. was jerking off in front of producers, like, and asking them to do that. Yep. like these guys, like that's when it all started, this whole PC woke culture. It's because because victims of what they feel like were sexual harassment or sexual assault started speaking out on this stuff. And then all of a sudden it turned into comedy's dead. Like, no, comedy's not dead. You're not seeing it with comedy movies anymore because all those guys have just gotten really old, and there hasn't been any next coming of, we talked about this. There hasn't been any next coming of Judd Apatow or Seth Rogen or anyone special like that in the comedy world. But if you've been paying attention, stand-up comedy has been stand-up comedy. Like, there's nothing that's really changed too much from that. Did we stray away from the roast? Sure. Did people start getting called out a little more for making edgy jokes? Sure. But comedy has never died. It never has. If anyone's like that, that's just a sign to me that you haven't been paying attention, And then Dave Chappelle just comes up and doesn't even do jokes anymore. It's just like, it's just basically him trying to, I don't know what he's trying to do, really.
I agree with you on that. Dave, I miss the days where Dave would just talk about things he observed and, made jokes about being on an airplane and shit like that. And instead, it's just him like trying to make a point about today's society. It's just like, I don't want to hear that, Dave. I just want to laugh. And people that say like, oh, well, Dave's going to get canceled for this, and that. No, Dave Chappelle just performed at Chase Center last year, and he brought out Elon Musk for whatever goddamn reason that was for. But it was sold out. People went to go see him. I think if you're just funny, people will listen to you. Yeah. And I think there's a small fraction of society that tries to prevent certain jokes these days. And I would just tell people like, yes, we have to evolve as people, but let's all just laugh at the end. If no one's trying to be malicious and serious with their intentions, they're just jokes. We all can just laugh in the end. And I thought that was a great sign of that at the roast. Was it vile and disgusting? Yes, but it was fantastic.
Yeah, it was awesome. People don't want to hear it. They don't want to listen to it. But those who hate it the most are the
Chris
loudest.
Mad Dog Russo.
Yes.
It was disgusting. It was awful. These people aren't funny.
I'm not on your chair. There's so many comedians out there who people haven't heard of, and I just think you're looking at, if you have that opinion where like the whole stand-up comedy was dead, now it's revived. I'm of the opinion that you just looked at it from a surface level and haven't actually watched anything. like anything besides maybe like a popular Netflix stand-up every now and then. But Kill Tony. No. I'm telling you, Kill Tony is the one. Like that's where, Kill Tony's the one, man.
No, I mean there's great comedians today, like you said, Tony, Shane Gillis, Mark Norman. Who else am I forgetting? Jim Jeffries.
Jim Jeffries still doing his thing.
Yeah,
and I dare anyone to go back at his stand up and tell me, this guy was scared of the woke PC cancel culture.
No, like that's the thing, is like no one. I do love when comedians come out now and say like I'm gonna do what I want to do. I'm doing comedy here. Like I'm not trying to offend anybody. I'm doing what comedians have always done and just talk about life. So yeah, I do agree. Yes, we talked about this before. Comedy movies, I don't know what the hell's going on with that. I would love to see a good comedy film in theaters, but I think kind of streaming has killed that, where they would put like, I haven't watched it, but you know that movie that's on Amazon Prime with John Cena and Zac Efron. I think it's like Ricky Stenicki or something. Mm-hmm. Back in the day, that would be put on a theater, and that'd be an R-rated comedy that made 100,000 or 100 million at the box office. Nowadays, they go straight to Netflix because it's cheaper to do it that way. They want the bigger budget films to be in theaters.
The lighting in your apartment is insane right now, by the way.
It's because I forgot to turn my lights on before this thing started. It was light when we started, and now it is dark. So
fair enough.
It's just the reflection off the TV.
Little chiaroscuro.
There you go. Yep. Call back way back in the day to Rick Tittle. Mm-hmm. All right, Steven. That's all I got for tonight. Anything else you want to bring up?
No, I got plenty you can bring up on Sunday.
That's true. We will talk about a plenty, because got to fill that time before we get to the NFL schedule release 1 week from today. Can't come fast enough. All right. To everybody that was in the chat tonight, Ernie 1, Ernie 2, AJ Cruz, Skills Report, 45 West, Tacky, Jesse, our guy Otis Bird is the word. Who else am I missing here? I want to say I saw Danny Gold TV.
He was there. Mauser was in there. Ryan
Mauser was in there. A couple of new faces I saw, or maybe just people with different accounts. Just a lot of people tonight. If I didn't get to, I apologize. But thank you for always watching or listening. Steven, say what you always say.
It is just our opinion, man. Oh no, that's not the end. No,